Councillor Barnes.
I was wondering if you could put the other flood map up, not the village one. What I was trying to ascertain in the development is what is the height or the distance in the respect of distance and height between the brook and the development, and what the height distance is. In other words, if the brook was to come up a metre...
2 metres.
So the brook is sort of about 100 metres, 101, and the development is at 103.
What's the scale? 1 to 500. I'm going to set a quick measure. So yeah, it looks like about 6 or 7 metres up the site at least, am I right? Or is it further than that? No, it's further than that, isn't it?
So what you're saying is where there isn't development is safe. What they are saying obviously is that when the water is higher than it normally is, then it will be on the access road.
Sorry, 60, not 6 metres. I've got the wrong scale.
Oh right. Oh.
Okay.
That map seems to show a more intense level of flooding than the one as part of our presentation. Does the Environment Agency recognise that map that we're now looking at on screen? That's part one of the questions of the Environment Agency. Are you able to measure it? And what depth did we achieve to achieve that level of flooding?
So, to answer your first question, this map is from its modelling surface water flooding. The first map that we saw is modelling fluvial flood risk, so flood risk from the river itself.
Okay, let's look at it another way. We've been told there have been 4 identified floods, and I can't remember what the specific years were, but one was the 9th of March. Are you able to identify what the level of flooding was on those 4 occasions, and what was that height on each of those occasions, or mean height, when we had real flood events? And does it replicate that, or does it represent your model?
I mean, the first thing to say is it's pretty difficult to do because you haven't got a river level gauge. Where you haven't got a river level gauge, you're at the mercy of anecdotal information, so photographs or sort of after the flood where it's subsided. Often it leaves a rack mark or a mark which you maybe then be able to go and survey. We haven't had that from those events.
Yeah, there is a map within the flood risk assessment, and it's got the actual levels to ordnance datum. It's got the lines across the site, which show it in 0.5 intervals. So contours. So we can estimate what the flood level was, but it's not going to be exact. So, for example, Councillor Wrighton measured approximately 102.25 in between 2 of the contours. If you took that across, you could broadly estimate that, it might have been 102.5 on Orchard Close, just before number 17, for example. So we could say roughly, conservatively, 102.5 may have been the level in 2007, or 98 in 2007. I think we're fairly close. They're the 2 largest events anyway. So, being conservative, as taking it slightly above Councillor Wrighton's estimation, you could say 102.5 possibly. But we know it's sort of in that area, 102, 102.5. It's impossible to be more accurate than that, really.
No, fair enough. I think that is helpful because clearly, you went out there with your ruler and pencil.
Councillor Brown.
Good evening, Mr. Murphy. You said that the Fire Brigade hadn't got any objections, but they're working on data from obviously the flood risk assessment, as it says in the update sheet, and it says 0.4 to 0.5 in depth confirmed the vehicles could pass through it unless it was fast flowing. and if it was more than a metre, the indicators say that that wouldn't happen, then they'd have to go small lane, which would give them a delay because of the parked vehicles. So not totally in support, are they?
No, I disagree. I think they are totally in support. And I think the first point is, imagine that there is an extreme flood event. These proposed houses are not at flood risk, so the occupiers do not need to have a fire engine to rescue them at times of flooding. So that's the first point. So we're talking here about an extreme convergence of two events, a flood and a fire. A fire when there's been heavy rain.
Yes, Councillor Kettle.
Firstly, I thought the fire and rescue service don't always deal with fires, they deal with flooding as well, I think. So it isn't just a fire and a flood, it can be a flood and a flood, which if you've got one flood might be another flood, mightn't it?
Yes, but at a time of flooding, these houses will not be underwater. So why would they need to visit 25 houses in an extreme flood event?
Councillor Barnes.
Thank you. No, I'm not happy with this. As far as I'm concerned, it's a big development in open countryside. It might actually be better for, boats than houses.